The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Welcome to Aftergate, powered by the Defy Life Network.
Are y'all ready?
Aftergate is a podcast series highlighting Colgate alumni of color in their professional endeavors aftergate.
Are y'all ready?
Aftergate is hosted by Alvin Glimpf, aka Al, and Herman Dubois, aka Jerry.
Are y'all ready?
We are doing Aftergate because Colgate University has produced innovators who have changed the world every day, yet many alumni of color and the mainstream Colgate community are unaware of the amazing accomplishments of alums of color.
Are y'all ready? Welcome. How's everybody doing out there in the Aftergate universe? This is your boy, the birthday boy.
That's right.
Birthday boy, Alvin Glimpf, co-host of this weekly podcast known as Aftergate. Excited to be here. Looking forward to this conversation. And this has just been an amazing ride as we share every week. The interesting, the intriguing, the inspirational stories of some of the best alumni Colgate has ever produced, some of the best AOC that have ever blessed that campus with their presence. So we are at it again and looking forward to this conversation. But before we get there, as always, let me introduce my co-host, Herman, aka Jerry Dubois. What you do, boy? How you doing?
All is well. Big birthday shout out to AG. AG, the OG. Not mad at you.
AG the OG. I like that.
And aging with grace is a beautiful thing. And just want you to know that you are honored and you are blessed. You are revered in more ways than you even possibly know. But those who know. So big shout outs. And looking forward to catching up with you in another week or so. I'll be back in the ATL and we'll get to do a belated. Well, it ain't really in your count. It's never really been belated because if it's in May, it's a birthday celebration. Mayhem is an annual event now that people, it's like thinking on Eventbrite and people like book hotel reservation just to come party with the May crew in Atlanta. So for sure.
For sure, man. Appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you as well. I got family coming down around Memorial Day weekend. The list is growing and growing and growing. And honestly, this has just been an amazing season. That's the kind of the theme, the word I've been using today. Like this has just been an amazing season, and recognizing this season, enjoying this season, and just embracing all that comes with it. So part of that is Aftergate, as I reflect on this past year and things that have been special. This podcast is definitely one of those things that I look back at this year and has been a part of the amazing journey that I look at in the last 365 days. So all is good in the hood. Before we jump into the conversation, right, let's make sure we show some love to one of our previous guests, huge supporter, Garfield Smith, class of 85. And he had asked us to make sure that we promote the next meeting of the Partnership for Racial Progress on our next Aftergate podcast. And for those who don't know, the Partnership for Racial Progress has been working with Colgate on some critical DEI issues and working with the administration and university leadership to drive change. Their next meeting is May 18th. And just to share, their goal is a permanent action-oriented commitment from Colgate that reviews and addresses the stain of racism and systemic inequity on the campus with near-term and long-term initiatives that establish Colgate's position as a national leader in higher education and reflect its values. That's what's up. The slated pillars are faculty and staff, curriculum, students, alumni culture, operations, and audit tools. And while they have already met with university leadership on items 1 and 2, the May 18th meeting, they will be discussing item number 3, which is students, alumni, and color. So he welcomes the support of AOC. He's asked us to get the word out. And he also mentioned that details about the meeting, which are tentatively from 6 p.m. On the 18th, there's going to be a Zoom link that's going to be made available on the AOC Facebook page. So make sure you check it out and support the meeting and support that initiative, because we are all about active engagement. As always, make sure we remember to come out for Colgate's alumni reunion in June. All right. So that being said, are you ready to introduce our guest for this week? You ready?
Let's do it. Looking forward to this.
Okay. So after Gate, my listeners, my family, our peoples, I would like to officially introduce to the Aftergate podcast Miss Susan Burrell, class of 1987. Hey, hey,
Hey guys, happy
hey.
birthday to you.
Go ahead. Keep it
No,
going. Keep
no.
it going.
I can tell you one of my Colgate experiences is taking an easy music class, what I thought was going to be easy, and being told by the professor that I was tone deaf and I should drop it right away.
Not exactly what you want to hear in the music class.
No, I was like, no.
An easy music class at that.
Exactly, an easy music class. After class, he was like, "Can you stay behind, Miss Burrell, and let's go through the scales?" And I could not tell the difference between low and high. And he was like, "Here's a drop card."
Oh, withdrawal.
Right.
Well, sounded good to me. I appreciate the tone.
No grade here, right?
None. So again, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time, considering all that's going on. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to honor the commitment that you made. So we appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. I just really like what you guys have been doing. Started listening to your podcast after I read about it in the Gate paper. And so then I was like, oh, let me listen to this. And, it really brought back a lot of nostalgia for me and realized that, there was some good positives about that school, even though I like to, me and my little crew sometimes like to write it off,
Well, so let's, that's
a perfect segue.
we are pretty transparent at this Colgate Aftergate thing, right?
Yeah.
So part of, as I reflect on how have we connected, how did this even happen? It started with me reaching out via LinkedIn, and then you agreeing to have an initial pre-conversation to say, hold on.
She was screening.
I'm not mad at you. I did research on who she is. It seems
like, who are these clowns trying to have me on their podcast?
But that's okay. That's okay. Because we don't mind that. We understand that this is part of the process of us all getting to know each other. It's not like we were on campus at the same time. It's not like your crew is my crew, so we'll just be like, we've interacted over the years. Literally, our first interaction was me I think you liked something on LinkedIn, and I'm like, oh, she liked it. She's a Colgate alum. Let me reach out and let her know what this is all about. So I appreciate that out of that simple connection, that just us reaching out and then having maybe a 10-minute conversation on what Aftergate is about, but then also sharing a little bit about our experiences, that you got it and that you were then listened. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, because I like to give some context on whether we know this person, we go back like we were running people's, or honestly, I'm meeting this person for the first time on this call. So we like to share that context. So,
and if I may, before you jump in this, one, I didn't know that. This is the first I'm hearing it. And so we always have an interesting intro on how the different guests end up on the show. So that was very unique. But big shout out to LinkedIn. We need to holler them and talk about, yo, we might need to be on their platform as just like launching this across the country where people just see this opportunity to network, which LinkedIn does, but very intentionally around alumni of color of institutions around the country. So let's footnote that. Let's manifest that with LinkedIn.
I agree.
But I'm one technical question. Did you hit her before she read the article in the magazine, or did she read the article and then there was a connection on LinkedIn?
I think she liked the article. I think it might have been the article that she actually liked. And then when I saw that and kind of looked to see, well, who's this? Oh, Colgate alum. Let me reach out and connect.
Shout out to Colgate Magazine for that love.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, it sparked me to kind of go on LinkedIn and look for other Colgate alum, because as I was listening to the episodes, I was like, oh, I wonder where so-and-so is. And so I have connected with about 5 alums since listening to your podcast. I'm like,
love it.
We'll take it.
Those 5 alums, once we publish this, make sure you share the link with them to say, hey guys, nice to connect with you, and check this out. Make sure you're listening to Aftergate, because we are growing by leaps and bounds by our listenership, and that all is organic as we are just sharing amongst our crew.
Wonderful.
So let's jump on in. So let's think about this. So class of 87, which happens to be, you were leaving in May of 87 as we were coming on campus a month later for our scholars program. So we literally were kind of following right behind.
She was speeding back out of Colgate. Speeding.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Tickets, give them to me. Hurry up. I gotta get out of here. Right? And we were in a fog, not knowing where the hell we were at. You know, I didn't even know there were farms in upstate New York.
So that does mean that we know some of the similar people, because there were people on campus with you that once you graduated were upperclassmen as we arrived. So that's looking forward to hearing some of these stories, because it's we're gonna hear some of the names that we recognize, right? But take us back to, you graduate in 87. That means you graduate high school 1983. Give us a sense of where you come from. Give us a sense of what your world is like. Give us a sense of what's happening in the world for you in 1983. Kind of set that context for what it is. What is it like before you actually come to Colgate?
Well, I'm an immigrant from Jamaican parentage, but my parents were part of the Windrush immigrants that went to England in the 1950s. And then they spent 20 years in England, and we came here when I was 10. So we lived in the Bronx. We lived on the Grand Concourse. 170.
No way. Street. Are you serious? Wow. Yeah. My mom works at Bronx Lebanon Hospital, which is right up the block from you guys.
Yeah, and then we moved to East 233rd Street when I was in high school.
White Plains Road.
White Plains Road. Yep, they're Jamaican. White Plains Road.
Hardcore. That's where I get my roti. That's where I get my cocoa bread and beef patty. Come on, don't play with White Plains Road, 233rd. But get your stuff and keep it rolling, because they in your part of town. Chop it up, bro. Let's go.
Yeah. So my parents still live on Grace Avenue.
No way.
I mean, as I said earlier, I'm in my childhood bedroom on Grace Avenue as we speak.
Okay. My parents are on Gun Hill Road still right now. Right. Yeah. And my sister.
Your sister. Yep. So I went to Catholic school.
Which one?
St. Nicholas of Tolentine.
Oh, Tolentine. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know Tolentine.
Back in the day, it was a big basketball school.
That's why I know, because of sports. Yeah.
Yeah, the sports. So that's where I went to high school. So it's a funny story about that. When I first came to America, I can't remember what elementary school I was on, but it was one right on the concourse somewhere. And I think my second day at school, I think it was some guy going up the stairs grabbed my butt, and I turned around and kicked him and got into a fight, and my parents took me straight to the Catholic school. They were like, what is this?
It's gotta go.
They just grabbing
Gotta
butts.
go. Grabbing butts. I was like, what is going on?
That was how the Bronx was.
Yes. So my mother put me into Catholic school, and that was the end of the story.
Wow.
Mhm.
So how did you hear about Colgate?
They wrote me. They wrote me a letter, like a lot of schools wrote me. I think I got good grades. I did well on the SAT. They wrote me a letter, and I remember I had a really great guidance counselor, and I took the letter to her, and she was like, "Susan, this is a great school. You should definitely investigate this opportunity." And so I applied.
That is the fundamental difference between the parochial school college advisor and guidance counselor and the public school college advisor. Usually smaller schools, there's more intention behind that advising. Universities like Colgate get databases of outstanding students, particularly students of color, that become, and then next thing you know, they get newsletters, and it's like, hey, check us out, and look, it works. It's part of that marketing strategy, and they've always done that with a lot of the parochial schools that I knew of in the Bronx, and not the public schools. Until Randolph came along, but that's another story. I was going to say, talk about Talentine, because I know Talentine, but he needs to know Talentine.
Okay, let me see if I can recall. Maybe it was like 1/3 white Catholic, Irish, 1/3 Spanish, 1/3 Black,
right.
1/3 Black, and then maybe another, and then other. I don't know. It was like a mix. It was a UN type school.
Okay.
And the priest there was Father Smith, and his father was a former governor of New York. So it was a very influential parish.
Gotcha.
He hosted the governor's dinner every year that they have, and the president attends. So it was a very politically influential parish at the time.
So then give us a sense of, what do you remember as you transitioned then into Colgate? Is it an easy transition? Is it a difficult transition? Is your family aware of what Colgate is, its stature?
No, my parents, I was the first to go to college in my family. So no, my parents weren't really aware. In fact, my mother was so mad at me for picking Colgate. She was like, why couldn't you just go to Fordham? It's just down the road from Talentine.
Yep. Pound Parkway bus lines.
Exactly. She was so upset with me to go so far. She said, "You're wicked." So she called me.
Wicked.
Wicked child. I don't know how you turned out so wicked.
Yeah. And that's without even knowing how bad Colgate was.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what, really, I went up for the weekend when they invite you up. And I just made, I just had such a good time, and I made such good friends that it just sealed the deal.
Yes. Like many of us.
So question, although this might sound stereotypical because I come also from a very strict family code of ethics, was your household a very strict household in terms of, just your teenage years? Did you have siblings? Were you solo? Because for a lot of people to say Colgate was the escape from where they came from, whatever that may have been. Was that your scenario?
I don't know if I would categorize it as escape, but I did. My father was like, books, not boys, books.
Yeah.
There was no dating. There was
right.
You have time for that later, kind of parental upbringing. So, but that really, it was going there and seeing the beautiful campus and making friends. It's just everything about it just appealed to me at the time. I don't know, because I had gotten into Binghamton and Syracuse, and I went and looked at Syracuse, and I did not like it. It was just too big, and the dorms looked like prison complexes or something, or concrete, and I just didn't like it.
So, do you remember that freshman year, where you stayed? What's the life like on campus as you come on campus in the early mid 80s? What's that like?
Well, I think because I always felt other, because I'm not Jamaican because I wasn't born there. I'm not American because I wasn't born here. I'm British because I was born there, but am I really British? You know what I mean? And so because of that, I think when it was time to choose a dorm, I chose the international dorm. And I believe it was Cotton the one, the one with the bathroom in between and the two
Yeah,
suites.
the suites. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I chose that dorm, and so I had a grand time in that dorm.
Mm.
I mean, my roommate she's Dutch. We're still best friends to this day.
Okay.
My other really good friend was from Syria. She's from Cyprus. She was Turkish from Cyprus. I had friends from Iran, Pakistan. Germany. I loved that dorm, and a lot of the athletes lived in that dorm. A lot of the football players. So I got to know a lot of the upperclassmen.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved that dorm, and so I would go to the my other girlfriends lived in Harlem Renaissance, so I would hang out there and then come back home.
Right there, down the ramp.
Yes. So I would hang out there a lot, but I would come back home, and I really enjoyed where I lived and my dorm and everybody I met there. It was good. And maybe because everybody was from someplace else, they were just so warm and inviting. And I don't think maybe I had the traditional Colgate experience of living in that I know others had because of where I lived.
Interesting. What was the adjustment like academically and like socially? How'd that flow?
Well, that's something that I really credit my roommate with. She is her parents had sent her, she was Dutch, and she finished high school early, and her parents sent her to Switzerland to do French for a year, like a finishing school. And so she had gone to like prep school. So she quickly recognized that I was not ready for Colgate. So she
let me help you.
Yes, let me help you. Let me help you study.
Wow.
And she took me and my friends under wing. She's like, guys, you gotta read this. This is how you do it. This is what you do, And so she was very, very helpful in that sense, and a great role model. Like, come on, we all gonna party on Saturday, but let's put in the time now. And yeah, she kept me on the straight and narrow that first year.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Were you social, like in terms of extracurricular activities? Did you
I was I was an officer in the Caribbean Club.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was vice president. What else did I do? I hear you guys all talk about hosting. I think I hosted like a reggae hour on the radio station for at least a semester or two. So I did that. Yeah. Somebody taught me into that, and I was like, okay,
I'll do it.
I'll try it.
So did you have what was your DJ name, or what was your did you have a name for your show?
No, I do not remember. It wasn't Sister Nancy or nothing like that. I know I did that for a short while, and that was a lot of fun. So I did extracurriculars. Yeah.
Okay. How about work? Did you work on campus?
Yes, I worked in the computer lab. Remember Lotus 1, 2, 3?
Yeah. Okay.
Back in the day, so people would come to the lab, and I worked in there. It was great. I could do my homework, read my books. It was like not working. It was a great work study, and so that's where I worked.
Those are the best kind of jobs. Where you study and get paid at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Curious because we jumped into sort of your Colgate experience, but if you reflect back to when you were making that decision to go to Colgate, what was also happening in the world in an international tip? You have a very different perspective, coming from some of the lenses you've seen. Just to paint the scene of what the world was, and then how that may or may not have impacted you going to Colgate, or what the climate was like at Colgate, because the 80s is interesting depending on where you come into the decade.
I remember that Carter was president while I was in high school. I remember that, and the whole Iran hostages situation was going on. And then I remember Reagan coming in, and it was like the devil is the president. It was like,
yeah, exactly.
The world's coming to an end. I remember that whole, and I remember on campus at Colgate, apartheid was huge. I remember being a part of the sit-ins in the admin building to protest to get them to divest from South Africa. That was huge on campus, and I was a part of that whole initiative.
Yeah, I think, two things from the 80s that I don't know if history has necessarily lifted up and shined the light. One is that for people of color, and they did not like Ronald Reagan. And
No.
so while he has, for some reason, been over the years, been lifted up as this amazing president, he even got a what do you call it? An airport named after this dude. In my community, as I was growing up, I remember my uncles talking about him like he was the devil. Right?
Yep. Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing that you mentioned that, like, oh man, people don't remember that enough, is how much student activism was going around in terms of anti-apartheid. And I think, we came on to Colgate's campus in 1987, and it was still,
The thick of it.
Right, we were still feeling that. And so that's, people don't remember that enough. So glad.
And I think also, upon going to Colgate, I think we were maybe the first class in which they had an African studies program. And so that ended up being my minor. And and Manny Marable was brought on to lead that. And my God, he was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal. I took all his classes. That ended up being my minor because of him. And it was just a phenomenal, eye-opening experience that really grounded all of us in the diaspora. You understood the diaspora. You understood the socio-economic and political underpinnings to what's going on in the diaspora. It was a great time to be on campus. And if you chose that as a minor and really got into those, it was just phenomenal.
Definitely. We are the beneficiaries of that energy as we come on campus. That we might not have come with that understanding, but by the time we graduated, we definitely saw
we understood
differently. Like, oh, I get this. Could be we were definitely more critical thinkers when we left the campus in regards to,
I don't know, did you guys, was Manny still there when you came on, or
our freshman year? I believe he was still there, but then he left.
But and freshman year, you're still numb from figuring out what the hell we're doing up there. That I don't think, at least for me, and I think I may agree, I don't think we understood who Manning Marable was. And there should have been, and this is, someone saying this might be his last year here. He may not do a lot of freshman classes, but maybe by your second semester, take one of his classes because he's a scholar, and the chance to have him for a semester, never mind being a minor. Imagine that, Awesome.
And he used to have these Tuesday, Thursday seminar classes that started at 7 and went till 9. And it was just phenomenal. He would put us in a
circle. AM?
No, PM.
Oh, PM, evening class. Oh,
evening classes.
But weren't many of those?
Not at
all.
There
were, but he loved it. So you would start at 7 and go till 9, and he would have maybe he would lecture for the first hour, and then we would sit in a semicircle. And the second hour, he would be debate. He'd throw out a topic. He would throw out a topic like, ladies, women are outnumbering men with college education. You're gonna have to share your men. Debate. You're gonna have to share your black men.
Wow.
Debate. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not.
Oh wow.
Some of y'all gonna be without.
Right. Get a good coat, because it's gonna be cold when you by yourself.
Yeah, he would throw out things like that, and just talk about the socioeconomic factors that were attributing why so many men were going to the prison industrial complex, education issues. That was a way for him to open up those topics about why aren't there enough black men for you young ladies? Educated black men.
Do we know why he left? Why he left Colgate?
I don't
just
know
went
why.
to another campus. So
I just think he got a better opportunity. He did what he wanted to do, establish the department and get it up and running. I think Josiah just was there, right? I think he
so you remember Josiah.
So
he might have stayed maybe to my sophomore year, but he by the time we graduate, he's gone as well. But he is the one. I took a class with him during J term, when J term was still a thing, but it was a class on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and kind of contrasting and comparing their philosophies. And that is, I guess, right after my first semester, and I'm hearing about this guy, Josiah Young, and you got to take this. He blew my mind with that class, and I was like, Oh yeah, all right. I need to take more classes like this. I need to learn more about this culture thing right here. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember Josiah blew all of our minds, but he came on campus. He was a dancer. Did you know he used to dance like with Alvin Ailey or something?
oh no.
Oh my God!
Oh
And
no.
he brought them up and danced with them. We just about died.
Wow, wow, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
awesome. Mm-hmm.
We had some
Yeah.
So
powerhouse faculty at Colgate. When you think
Yeah,
about
we did. We
just
did.
within this discussion, if we were
right.
to really open that up and think about all like having them there at one time and what that could look
Yes.
like for across departments could be crazy. But anyway, sorry to divert.
No
So
problem.
when you look back then over your 4 years, what do you lift up as some of your accomplishments, some of your highlights of things that you are fond of, your experience?
I think one of the greatest experience I had was going abroad. I, oh goodness. Yeah, I went to I think the year we were going, there was some turmoil in Zimbabwe, so we didn't get to go to the Colgate sponsored study abroad in Africa. But they were really great because they had done all the paperwork for us. So then they decided, like, we were supposed to leave in January, and they decided in November, you know what, it's not safe to go there. So we went to they found another study abroad for us with this group called Experiment in International Living. And
Wow.
so we went with them, and we went to Kenya and Tanzania instead.
Oh, dope.
It was wonderful. So that was
Very.
one of my great experiences. And that was my last semester, senior year.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. To come back from that and then graduate.
Oh, I was just too pumped. I didn't know what I was going to do in my life, but I
That
was pumped. I had no grad school plan or anything, but I was pumped.
that's a perfect segue for the second half. We're gonna pick up from there.
So this episode is sponsored by Hope Murals. Hope Murals is a nonprofit that provides adolescent youth with an interactive experience of creative expression via an urban arts platform that stimulates both mental and physical development. Please visit their website at www.hopemurals.org to learn more and find ways you can support the work they do. Welcome back. We are here finishing up our conversation with Susan Burrell, class of 1987. But before we jump back into that, let's make sure we give some love to our sponsor, Hope Murals. Check them out, hopemurals.org. Learn more about what they do as they are changing the lives of our youth through urban arts. Make sure you check them out and raise your awareness about their organization, as well as make a donation. Also, if you are interested in being a sponsor, shoot us an email at aftergatepodcast@gmail.com. And we'd also want to just make sure we show some love to our network, the Defy Life Network, at godefylife.com. Check out their written content on their website. And if you're interested in some of their podcasts similar to Aftergate, but it's very diverse group of shows. So make sure you check them out at their podcast hub at www.defylifepods.com. Much love. And also check out our the defylifegear.com. If you want some branded apparel, we got some Aftergate stuff on there, t-shirts, hoodies. Show some love. Check out that website. All right. So now, as we jump back into the second half of this conversation, before we get into a sense of where you've been and how you got to be the woman that you are, we always like to just throw a question to our guests to get a sense of their opinion on a particular topic. One of the biggest topics in the air right now is abortion and the fact that a opinion was leaked out of the Supreme Court, suggesting that if those votes stay the same based on this opinion, that the Supreme Court is going to overturn Roe versus Wade. Curious to hear if you have any thoughts on that particular topic, and would just love to hear what your perspective is.
Well, I think that, people say all the time, elections have consequences, and that's so true. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Trump got in and he was able to load up the conservatives on the court, and consequently, this is what has happened, and so the Republicans have said for a long time what their plan is. If you've been paying attention, you would see that they had a strategy. They couldn't win otherwise, so they're gonna win by loading up the court, and they're gonna win by loading up the state assembly houses. And so, and even now, if you're paying attention, you will see that Trump is now loading up even the school board elections and the commissioners of the supervisors of election and etc. They're even going below the state assembly houses and state legislators, and they're trying to load up there because they know that they are going to be in a minority, that brown and white, brown and colored and Asian people are going to be the majority in this country. They don't like that. And so this is the result we're getting, So I think the decision of the Supreme Court is not a surprise. We shouldn't be surprised. And we need to take it as an action call to get politically involved and to take back state legislators and take back our local elections and to get more politically involved. That's the only way we're going to bring about real change. Well, I think a lot of times we all think, if we just elect a president, as President Obama showed us, he can only do so much. And he tried to do so much with executive order, but executive order can be easily changed when you have a new administration. So you need real legislation, laws on the book, not executive action. So even Biden now, he's very limited in what he can do. So the only way we can do, I think Stacey Abrams has shown us, we've got to get involved politically. We got to get involved on the state level. We got to get involved on the local level. And even in your school districts, if you watch what they're doing now, you got to get involved. I know a lot of times we're like, we're so busy. I don't want to be PTA president or run for the school board, but I don't think we have a choice. If we want our children to have access to education, another thing that I live in Florida, and something that I've seen is that they are decimating the public education system so that their friends who have for-profit charter schools can rank up the dollars. And so they are decimating public schools. And if you want to stop it, you've got to get involved. You've got to, so that would be what I would say. I see Roe v. Wade decision that we think is going to come down and strike it down is just a symptom of the larger picture of what's going on in this country and a wake-up call for all of us.
Here. Appreciate you. We are huge advocates for civic engagement. And so we definitely echo your comments and gotta get involved to make a difference. So thank you for that, those words of wisdom.
You said you live in Florida now, which I do too. I'm not sure where in Florida. Where in Florida are you?
In Tampa.
Tampa. Okay, I'm not in Miami, so we'll talk about that later. But let's go back. 87. Walk us through the highlights, the peaks and valleys of where life took you professionally, personally, just kind of who you are today in retrospect, leaving Colgate.
So I'm leaving Colgate. I think maybe I've painted a picture that I love Colgate so much. I just want to say, I spent a lot of time trying to get out of there. I was like, can I transfer to Howard for a semester or just leave? I can't take this cold, I can't take this whiteness, so I went through it all, and I understand what the kids go through up there. And I must just say, I was just lucky to have a really great set of friends that helped me get through it. So I think friendship groups are so important. The scholars program was so important. They helped me academically, the tutoring that they offered, everything. And maybe it's because, my parents are very pro-Black. And so, because of that, I think I just looked for someone at Colgate who I could relate to. And I was happy enough to find Professor Clark. He was in the economics department, and he was from West Indian. And I went to him and I took an econ class with him and I really enjoyed it. And then I majored in economics. And so that was my major, and then my minor was African American Studies. So I kind of surrounded myself with people that were gonna look out for my best interest and push me forward and make my life tolerable up there. And so I encourage anyone who's there to do the same thing. There are people on that campus who can be resources for you. Reach out to them, go to their office hours, make friends with them, and they will be your advocates. So that's what I want to encourage you, anyone who's listening to this, who's still there or planning to go.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So what did I do after I left? After I left, I was like, oh my God, I went to Africa and I didn't plan. I thought I wanted to get a master's in economics, but when I started to look at the programs, they were very math intensive. And I was like, no, that is not going to be me. And so one day I just went to the New York Library down at 34th Street. And I was just in there going through the New York Times, and I saw all these ads for paralegals. And they were like saying, if you went to an Ivy League school, we want you, or something like that. So I called the number and mailed them my resume. And I got an interview at one of the leading law firms in New York at the time, Cahill Gordon. And right away, I went there and I met another young lady that went to a similar school like Colgate. Where did she go? It will come to me in a minute. But anyway, she went to like Hamilton or something. And she was like, we could really relate in the interview. And she was like, the job is yours. And so I got the job, and it was great, and it gave me an opportunity to see what the legal profession was all about. It gave me the opportunity to say, you know what, I can do this, because you'd be surprised. The paralegal does all the grunt work, and then lawyers just look it over and put their name to it. So, you know what I mean? Especially on the first and second year lawyers, you know what I mean? So you realize, you know what? He might be from Harvard or Yale or wherever, but I can do this stuff. I'm the one who wrote that. He didn't make any changes, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and at the time, I made some really good friends at the law school. Loretta Lynch was the former attorney general. She was an attorney at the firm. In fact, I went to her and I was like, I want to go to law school. She goes, okay, I'll write your letter of recommendation. And she wrote my letter of recommendation for law school. Wow. I was a mentor. And there were a lot of other great female Black lawyers at the time at the firm that I made friends with. And so that's what happened. That kind of just pushed me to go to law school. I applied and I got into Georgetown, and I got into University of Pittsburgh, and a full ride with a dual degree in international relations. And I looked at that school and I said, you know what? It looks too much like Colgate. I said, my husband now, who was my boyfriend at the time, says, but you won't have any debt. I said, I could not care less. I cannot go through another 3 years of that isolation and cold. I'm going to DC.
Yes.
I'm going to DC. And so I went to DC. And I loved it. And the dean of admissions at the time was a Black gentleman. And I don't know, you had to, I don't know how true this rumor is, but you had to send a picture of yourself in. And people used to say he just picked all the pretty Black girls. I don't know how true this was.
Check.
No, yes.
You get it.
But so I was fortunate enough. Exactly. I got in, and there was a lot of Colgate alum there. So that was wonderful.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. People came in with me, people came in behind me, people that from Colgate were there before me. It was a great network. I can't remember each section, there were like 5 sections at Georgetown, and each section had at least 15 Black people. So that was really great.
Forgive me, but I could be wrong with this, but you knew Angel Kelly at Colgate, correct?
Yes, I did.
And she went to Georgetown Law School afterwards. Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm,
there you go. Mm-hmm. And you know where she's at now.
Yes, I did. I listened to her Aftergate interview. Yeah.
Okay.
I do know Angel. Yeah.
Yeah. Georgetown has a pipeline of Colgate people.
It does. It really does. So that was what I did. I jumped on that pipeline, I was probably because of my experience of working as a paralegal, I knew I didn't want to work at a law firm because believe me, it's horrible.
Wow.
It's 12-hour days, grunt work. It's so competitive. It was such an old boy network. All the Harvard lawyers stick together, all the the Yale lawyers stick together. It's like all the Columbia lawyers stick together. And like, if you're just, I saw the Black women there, brilliant women, brilliant. And the only time they got to do any substantive thing was when Jimmy broke his leg. Oh my God, Jimmy broke his leg. Can you take over this trial? Oh yes. And then they might win it, but they only get thrown stuff in an emergency. Right. I saw brilliant women reading novels because they didn't have anything to do. Wow. So the politics of a big law firm is rough. It's very networky. And if you're not getting the billables and you're not getting the client-facing assignments, you really got a tough road. You know, they were just sitting there saying, you know what, I'm paying off my student loans and I'm out of here. That was the attitude. They were like, I'm here, I can do the work, but you know what? I'm paying off my loans. I had one friend she's a brilliant woman. I used to say, will you please buy a new suit? She said, nope, got to go to the loans.
Everything.
She said,
not yet.
I am out of here. I am out of here. And she graduated from Yale and she was out of there the minute she paid off all her debt. Wow. And she went and ran the Ford Foundation after she left. Yep. She's done some incredible things. So, and so I kind of, knowing those women, I kind of knew that's not what I wanted. And so I was lucky enough to get an internship with Exxon. So I did an internship with them my sophomore year at Georgetown. And then they offered me a position when I graduated. And so when I graduated from Georgetown, I was in-house counsel for Exxon. Wow. In Houston, Texas.
Nice.
So that's kind of.
And then from there?
From there, I got married and my husband was in New Jersey at Bell Labs and he just couldn't find a position in Texas. And my mother was here and all my friends were here. So I quit and I came back.
How long were you in Texas?
Like 2 years.
Okay.
2 years, yeah. So I quit and then I was doing some per diem work and kind of just trying to figure out what to do. And the New York Times used to, back in the day, I found an ad for AIG was looking for attorneys with environmental experience. And I applied and I got a position and I worked for AIG for 13 years. I started in their environmental claims department because I had the experience with environmental litigation from Exxon and from Georgetown. I did a clinic in environmental law. And so advocating to clean up Anacostia neighborhood. There was a incinerator there. I helped write a brief to try and get that incinerator ash cleaned up. It was creating pollution and asthma in the children in that district. And so that was my experience there, advocating on behalf of the underserved at Georgetown. And then I went and I worked in the environmental claims department for maybe 8 years. And then I was asked to go over to their product development department. And I did 5 years at the product development. And I was a senior vice president when I resigned.
Awesome.
Yep. So, awesome. And I ended up resigning because my husband owned his own company at the time. And we had 2 young kids and we never saw them. And he came home from some international trip and said, this is ridiculous. Why did we have them if we're not going to rear them ourselves? We had a nanny for this, a housekeeper, a this. He had done a spreadsheet of our expenses. He says, this makes no sense, Susan. And, I looked at him and he was like, what time do you get home at night? 8? You can barely just tuck them into bed and you leave at 6. And I was like, you're right. And so we sold everything and we moved to Tampa. And he moved his business to Tampa and I stayed home for 5 years with them.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So Tampa's it. Tampa's home base. That's it. And
Tampa's home base.
And you just visit White Plains Road once in a while.
Once in a while. Visit White Plains Road once in a while.
Once
to hang out with
in
my
a
girls.
while.
No,
I hear
I
you.
come a lot because I have to hang out with my girls. All my friends are still here. All my
Okay.
Colgate friends, everything. So I come back and go to a play and go to a party, have a good time.
It keeps you rooted.
Exactly. Keeps me rooted.
It helps you appreciate Tampa in a different kind of way.
Exactly.
Nice. So when you look back, thinking about now that journey, if you had the opportunity to offer some advice to Susan going into Colgate, what would that advice be? And then also, if you had an opportunity to talk to Susan when she's coming back from Kenya as she's about to graduate, what would that advice be?
Going in, I think my advice would be this place has a lot to offer. Take advantage of it. I don't know if I tried to, but I don't know if I did as much as I think I could have done. I think I could have even done more. You know what I mean? So I would say this place has a lot to offer and you belong there. I think, I remember taking astrology class. I think it was a gen ed class and I got a D. And I looked on the paper. I was like, "Oh my God!" I wrote the paper. I got a D on the paper, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's gonna be so full of red." There was no red. And I remember going to office hours, and I was like, "Why did I get a D? I just didn't like it."
Wow.
I was like, things like that devastated me. Thank God for my friendship base. They picked me up off the floor and was just like, you know what? Just forget him. Just get out of that class. Just try and pass. Get out. And I remember even going to Dr. Clark and saying, "What should I do? What do you mean he just didn't like it?"
D.
A D. I even remember being in another class where it was an English class and there was a chapter or a segment on slavery, and a professor, I think Pinchot, or I forgot her name.
Yeah, I remember.
You remember her?
I remember that.
She put up a slide and showed a slave person sitting with them with their slave owner family and said, "See, slavery was a benevolent institution." I was like, "Oh my God, no." So there's incidents like that I remember vividly. And I remember getting up and walking out of the class. I was so upset. I was like, what kind of foolishness is this? But so I would probably just say, talk up, be your own advocate, and take advantage of the things the school has to offer.
Okay. And so how about as you were leaving, what advice would you give to that young lady?
Follow your gut. And be open to all opportunities.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this has been awesome. So now is our chance to ask you, is there anything you want to promote, anything you want to share, raise awareness to the Aftergate network out there? That is part of why we do this. We are trying to leverage our expertise, leverage the people who are out there in terms of resources. Is there anything you want to share and just get out there and say, "Hey, y'all, check this out"?
No, not in particular. I don't really have anything I want to share, but I just want to encourage people to get involved in your community with young people. Get involved in Colgate if you have that inclination. Get involved in your community. And just to say that I will be at Alumni Weekend reunion. I paid my money. And one thing that I was told by a friend who's still up at Colgate is, Tracy Hucks is one of my best friends.
Okay.
Shout out to Tracy.
Shout out to Tracy.
And she was like, "Please register." They keep saying that we show up, but we don't register.
Oh, don't.
You know your cousins. You know your cousins.
So she was like,
put that out there.
Register.
Please register.
So please register for the reunion weekend. I'm looking forward to being up there and seeing everyone. So
awesome.
That's what I would say.
I would definitely second your emotion in that we hope and encourage our listeners to register, to come up there for reunion. We are doing our best to advocate for this to be one of the most well-attended reunions in Colgate's history when it comes to AOC. So thank you for sharing that and reminding us to make sure we lift that up, because we want people to be there as well. So looking forward to meeting you. And
Same here.
That's been awesome. Any final words? Anything you'd like to go say before we ride out?
Final words is it's been great, and I wish you guys much success with this podcast. And I thank you for coming up with this idea and pushing forward.
And as always, we also thank you for fitting us into your schedule and life, and appreciate going down memory lane and getting some laughs and just, being able to recognize it was a very special time and space for all of us.
Thank you again to our guests. Thank you to our listeners. This has been another episode of Aftergate Season 2. Aftergate is always powered by the Defy Life Network, so make sure you check us out on their website, on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Remember, we got many more dope shows to follow. So appreciate y'all. And also remember that the Colgate of your day is definitely not the Colgate of today, and is also not the Colgate of the future. So make sure you come through and make it a different place for those who are following behind us. Peace, family.
Peace.
Shh. You hear that? Listen closer. That, my friend, is the deafening sound of focus. It drowns out all the useless noise that can clutter the moment. Naysayers don't exist. Haters? Smaters? The peanut gallery? Who's that? When you in your zone, all that noise and all that buzz is just elevator music. So, enjoy your journey, focus on your goal, and bask in the quiet roar that is progress. Because when it's your time to shoot that shot, spit that verse, or close that deal, the only voice that matters is yours. Defy Life.